Hi, how'd you get in there? I'm Ilya. Welcome to Ajax Lab series. I'm just taking apart some members of my lineup. Casually, no strings attached. In any case, I do like to be thorough with my victims. So before we do anything else, let's catch up on some theoretical knowledge. Don't try this at home, because I'm a professional. When we buy any equipment, from a street light to a cordless screwdriver, we intuitively assess its reliability. The main European standard for intrusion alarm systems, EN 50131, leaves no room for ambiguity. One of its requirements is the verification of the equipment's mechanical resistance. To achieve this during certification testing, methodologies from the international standard IEC 62262 or related standards of the IEC 60068 series may be applied, depending on the product type and test program. In other words, laboratories use specialized impact test apertures ranging from spring-operated and pendulum hammers to vertical drop test machines and subject detectors and hubs to calibrated impacts. A logical question arises. If alarm systems are tested using IEC 62262 methodologies during certification, why do manufacturers almost never print this marking on the boxes? It is quite simple. The EN 50131 specification imposes far more complex and comprehensive requirements on equipment. In addition to physical impact, it evaluates the system for tampering. A device must not only withstand a blow, it must instantly report an alarm if someone attempts to tear it off the wall. We at Ajax know all about reliability and certification inside and out, as we meticulously approach the high quality of our product at every stage, from designing enclosure injection molds to final laboratory testing. And that is just talking about the enclosure itself. Certification under EN 50131 already includes enclosure mechanical resistance testing among many other trials, making a separate IK class designation practically redundant for most of these devices. This is precisely why manufacturers rarely put IK ratings on the packaging of security equipment. Video surveillance systems occupy a distinct universe of their own. They are covered by the EN 62676 family of standards, which specifies the architecture and performance requirements for CCTV systems. The mechanical robustness of camera housings, however, is evaluated according to IEC 62262, which introduces a widely recognized IK marking. It is precisely on video surveillance systems where most of us have seen this famous acronym. It is well known that this standard features a scale from IK00 to the maximum IK10. This index indicates the impact energy an enclosure can withstand measured in joules. To understand the logic behind the scale, let us look at the complete grid of compliance. Behind each step of the code lies a distinct mathematically measured destructive force, IK02, 0.2 joules. This is the durability threshold for the most fragile elements. For example, a motion detector lens according to NF and A2P standard requirements. IK10, the highest official rating defined by the standard, corresponding to an impact energy of 20 joules. Occasionally, unofficial designations like IK11 or IK10+ can be found on the market, used by individual manufacturers to indicate products tested with an impact energy of 50 joules or more. Formally, these designations are not part of the IEC 62262 standard. But how exactly do laboratories assign these ratings? Testing methodology under the IEC 62262 standard is a precise and ruthless algorithm. A manufacturer cannot simply claim a level of durability without proper testing. The device is fixed to a rigid mount and tested using 3 types of specialized impact tools: spring hammers for low levels up to IK06, pendulum hammers or vertical drop test machines with a free-falling striker for higher levels from IK07 to IK10. During testing, impacts are delivered to specified locations across the enclosure according to the procedure defined by the standard to verify its resistance to mechanical stress. For products intended for specific environmental conditions, additional impact testing at defined temperatures may also be required by the applicable product standard. The success criteria for the test are exceptionally strict, and this is where engineers evaluate the aftermath. What is considered acceptable damage? And what constitutes a total failure? After testing, certain cosmetic flaws are permitted: scratches, scuffs, or minor enclosure deformations, provided they do not lead to a loss of functionality or degradation of the product's protective properties. Even if cracks appear, the decisive criterion is not their presence, but whether the device has maintained its operational capability and required level of ingress protection. If the damage from an impact exposes hazardous internal parts, or results in a loss of the necessary degree of protection, the test is deemed a failure. Enclosure may lose its cosmetic appearance, but it must continue to perform its protective function. What do all these numbers and the final 20 joules actually mean in real life? Is it a lot? Is it little? It is time to test theory against practice. Let's strip the academic mask off these joules and translate them into the plain language of everyday objects, kilograms and meters. Here is how it looks in real numbers. Scientists look at kinetic energy, the energy carried by moving objects. It could be a car, it could be a baseball bat, my fist mashing someone's face. In any case, an object has both mass and velocity. The moment that kinetic energy hits a wall, it transforms into deformation energy, producing an impact. To replicate this at home, we use potential energy. The formula is quite easy. We have our energy, which is measured in joules, equals to m, our mass, times g, which is acceleration due to free fall, and the average value for Earth is 9.8. And we times this by h, which is our height. Now, from all this, for testing, we need the height, because everything else can be measured quite easily, but we do need to find the height at which we need to drop something so that we get an accurate result. We will rearrange the formula for h equals energy divided by mass times acceleration due to free fall. This formula will be used to measure our h, as we've said. We already know our g, acceleration due to free fall, which will be 9.8. Mass can be measured on a scale, but for E, different IK ratings require different joules. So our energy will have different values depending on what we're testing. And it's going to range from 0.2 all the way up to 20 joules. Now let's see what I've brought for testing. Now that I'm all suited up, we can see what I have behind this curtain. These are the weights, so something that we've written as mass that we're going to use for different IK testings. Now, let's take a closer look at what we have. For IK02, I have a battery that I took out of a MotionProtect from someone's security system, and they should be getting the alert right about now. For IK04, I have a spark plug that I stole from my neighbor's car. For IK06, we have a timeless phone that doesn't need naming. Honestly, it might be a bit too much, so instead we have a hammer as well for IK06. For IK08, we have a glass filled with Orbeez. And for IK10, we have a brick. I know that we said that IK10 Plus doesn't really exist, but it doesn't stop us from having some fun. So we do have a sledgehammer for IK10 Plus. Before we do any actual testing, we gotta determine the height at which we're gonna drop some things. I have my scales right here, and we're gonna measure various objects, starting with our battery. So it's gonna come in at 16 grams. Now, using the formula, we gotta look at the joules that we need for IK02. That's gonna be 0.2 joules, and now we're gonna divide it by our mass times our acceleration due to free fall. It's gonna be 0.016 and divided by 9.8. which gives us 1.27 meters. And that's exactly where we're going to be placing our object. Off camera, I've done all the calculations. So now we can get to the fun part. Let's start from the top. First, we have Superior MotionProtect Plus G3 Jeweller. Fun fact about this device, it's the first ever grade 3 MotionProtect device in the world. And some features that we actually have inside of it. First of all, it has 2 tampers. And it can detect both motion and masking attempts. It has a great enclosure, great design as always with Ajax, but right now, we're about to test how durable it is. As you could have surmised, I've already created my own vertical drop hammer. I already have my battery locked in at 1.27 meters, and we're testing IK02. Let's get cracking. It survived the test. It has a couple of dents, but no severe structural damage. But I think it hasn't survived enough cruelty for me, so we're gonna move it up a notch to IK04. Well, that was awesome. I loved seeing how those objects drop on this device, and I love seeing it survive, because then it can suffer even more. But alas, we gotta let it go, and since it survived, I'm gonna give it 2 frog likes. I would also like to mention that this device is actually certified for IK02, or its lenses, but we saw that it survived IK04, so that's even better. The enclosure, however, is certified officially for IK04. Let's move on to our next volunteer. I hope there's more gore with this one. This is Superior DoorProtect Plus Jeweller. Its main purpose is opening. So it has an opening detector, but not only that, since there is that plus in there, it also has a tilt sensor and a shock sensor. Not to mention that it also has anti-masking against magnets that are not the magnet that it comes with. I have the next device ready on the table below. I propped up the spark plug and we're testing, as we all know, IK04, and I already measured the distance that it's exactly 1.15 meters. Since we're testing IK04, the impact will be 0.5 joules. So let's slice it. Well, it survived, and it's not surprising because this device is certified for IK04. It's gonna get more intense from here though, because we're gonna move up to IK06. Timeless phone, 1.21 meters of drop distance, IK06, 1 joules of impact. Let's go. I'm all done with this legend. I have my frog likes right here, and I'm giving this device 2 out of 2 for IK04 and IK06. Let's up the stakes and move on to the next device. On the ground, I have Superior HomeSiren Jeweller. Along with sounding an alarm from various causes, it can also beep on entry delays and exit delays, night mode, arming, disarming change, and it also has chime. But enough book talk. I'm very interested to see if we'll survive this. I have the hammer propped up at 35 centimeters, and again, we're testing IK06, so the impact will be 1 joule. Hammer time. That was great. I'm all done with the hammer now, and the siren is rated for IK06, so I wasn't really expecting it to break. But now, let's move on to IK08. I'm gonna use this glass of Orbeez, and at first it seemed like a good idea, but then I started making this handle and it seemed kind of off. But who cares? It's the right height, it's the right standard, it's gonna be 5 joules, so let's get to it. Oh! That was simply sublime. Words cannot express my satisfaction. Now, I do have my frog likes right here, and of course, since it survived 06 and 08, I'm putting it down for both. I've switched over to KeyPad Outdoor Jeweller. It's a durable keypad meant to withstand harsh conditions. It has a rating of IP66, and you can control the security state with it, as well as automation. In terms of controlling it, you can use codes, cards, and also your phone. I love its design. It's almost a shame I'm gonna have to try to break it. I'm kind of tired of picking up Orbeez everywhere, so for the next test, we're gonna be using a hammer. But since it's gonna be IK08 and not IK06, meaning that it's not gonna be 1 joules of impact, it has to be 5 joules. So we're gonna have to adjust the height, and for that, I'm gonna quickly run the formula so that we have the correct height. We have the hammer propped up. The height came out to be 1.8 meters, so IK08. The test will now begin. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or else. That hit way harder than it hit the HomeSiren. 5 joules against 1 joule? That's a big difference. Now, let's go to IK10, the brick. That was awesome! If you want to see more content like that, subscribe, share, and like this video. KeyPad Outdoor Jeweller is certified for IK08, so it's no wonder that it survived. But since it survived, and not only survived, but broke the brick, I'm gonna give it 2 frog likes just for IK10 as well. Let's move on to our last contender.
You've been waiting for so long. Just wait a little while longer. Your time will come.
For the last test, I have superior TurretCam HLVF. HLVF means hybrid light varifocal. Hybrid light meaning that it has white LED illumination upon human detection or any AI detection that you choose. And varifocal meaning that we can zoom in and zoom out. Zooming in lets us look at objects precisely, and zooming out lets us have a wider angle. It also has a P-iris lens, which lets us have a quality image in difficult lighting conditions. So let's cut to the chase. Well, the brick didn't do it, so it's time for the hammer! What an impact! It's time to fill out the table. Since that camera survived everything that we threw of it, even above the standard that we actually meant to test, so IK10 plus, remember that one? So I'm gonna give it all 3 or 4, just take all of them. Take all of these frog likes. And now that I have been satisfied, I am sure that I can install the system and it will be safe. What? Well, everything's installed. So now, let's assess the damages. The first device we tested was Superior MotionProtect Plus G3 Jeweller. I installed it right here. As we can see, the lens is a bit dented, but it still works. If we're talking about the enclosure, it's perfectly fine. The second device we tested was DoorProtect Plus Jeweller. Superior, mind you. And I installed it right here. As we can see, the enclosure is a bit damaged, but the device, again, works perfectly fine. Moving on to Superior HomeSiren Jeweller, we have it installed right here. It is perfectly fine. I'm gonna say that a lot because this system survived. But the logo, as we can see, is a bit damaged. Moving on to the keypad, we see that the enclosure is a bit damaged, and we did stress this device very thoroughly, but it still works. The buttons still work, so press OK. Everything's fine. And moving on to our final survivor, we have our Superior TurretCam HLVF. Now, we really gave it a good beating, but it still works. The lens still moves in and out, and it's perfectly fine. With that said, let's run a walk test to make sure that everything works in order. The walk test has started, so let's try opening. And we see that we got a trigger. So next, let's try triggering the MotionProtect. I'm gonna turn around and walk, and right there. Immediately, and we got a trigger. So let's also try looking at the masking sensor. And the masking sensor, as we can see, also got triggered. What we're trying to test is the panic button. So I have it set up for a long press. And we see that the panic button has been pressed. Now that I'm finished with the walk test, let's also test our siren and see if it can scream. For that, I'm gonna navigate to the siren in the app and click on volume test. Let's hit start. Whoa. I'm definitely gonna hear that. Now, all that's left is to test our camera. And it's very important that we test the motors since that's the part that could have gotten the worst beating. So I'm going into my app right here, and immediately I see that it picks me up as a person. Now, let's test our motors. I'm going into my PTZ controls. Let's press minus to zoom out. And we're zooming out. Awesome. Let's press plus to zoom in. And we're zooming in. Now let's press autofocus. Works great. That's awesome. That's the wrap on my fun time today. I had a blast crash testing all those devices. I was very surprised to see that I could install it and everything worked afterwards, despite all the suffering I've put it through. Now, as a reminder, you are watching Ajax Lab series, And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.